It was a cold, misty evening when Henry first heard about the Witch of Ravenwood Forest. He had been sitting with his three closest friends, Laura, Sam, and Chloe, in the dimly lit living room of an old cabin they had rented for the weekend. The cabin itself sat on the edge of the infamous Ravenwood Forest, a sprawling expanse of twisted trees and creeping shadows. Local legends warned visitors to stay away, but the group, eager for adventure, dismissed the tales as nothing more than exaggerated folklore. "They say no one who goes deep into Ravenwood ever comes back," Laura said, her voice low and dramatic, her eyes scanning the faces around her. "The witch takes them." Sam snorted, shaking his head. "Come on, Laura. It's just a story. You don't believe in any of it?" Chloe asked, her tone laced with curiosity and a hint of fear. "Not even for a second," Sam replied confidently. "I'm pretty sure it's just a way to keep people from getting lost in the woods." "Then let's prove it," Henry suggested, leaning forward. His voice carried a daring edge that immediately silenced the room. "Let's go into the forest tonight." Laura's eyes widened. "Are you serious?" "Why not?" Henry said. "We're here for an adventure, right? Let's see if the stories are true." Despite their initial hesitation, the group agreed. Armed with flashlights and a sense of youthful invincibility, they ventured into the forest under the cover of darkness. The air was heavy with an eerie silence, broken only by the crunch of leaves beneath their feet. Shadows seemed to move on their own, and the trees, gnarled and ancient, loomed like silent sentinels. As they walked deeper into the forest, the group began to notice strange things. Symbols carved into the bark of trees, an abandoned doll hanging by its neck from a low branch, and the distant sound of whispers that seemed to come from nowhere. Despite Sam's earlier bravado, even he couldn't hide the unease creeping over him. "This place gives me the creeps," Chloe whispered, clutching Laura's arm. "Maybe we should turn back." "We've come this far," Henry said, his voice steady but his grip on the flashlight tightening. "Let's keep going a little longer." Then they saw it. In the clearing ahead, bathed in the pale light of the moon, stood an old, crumbling stone house. Vines wrapped around its walls like the forest was trying to claim it. The windows were shattered, and the wooden door hung ajar, creaking softly in the night breeze. "This must be it," Laura said, her voice barely above a whisper. "The witch's house." "It's just an abandoned house," Sam said, though his voice lacked conviction. "Nothing to be afraid of." Henry stepped forward, leading the group to the entrance. As they crossed the threshold, the air inside the house felt different, heavier, colder. The faint scent of burnt herbs and decay lingered, making Chloe gag. "This place is disgusting," she muttered, covering her nose. "Look at this," Laura said, pointing to a large wooden table in the center of the room. It was covered in strange objects, a dusty grimoire, melted candles, and jars filled with unidentifiable substances. "Whoever lived here had some serious issues," Sam said, picking up a jar filled with what looked like human teeth. As they explored the house, they found more unsettling things. A room filled with bones, animal, they hoped, arranged in ritualistic patterns. A mirror with strange symbols etched into its surface. And then there was the basement door, half hidden behind a tattered curtain. "No way," Chloe said, shaking her head as Henry approached it. "We are not going down there." "We have to," Henry said. "What if this is where the truth is?" Despite their fear, curiosity won out. The group descended the creaking wooden stairs, the air growing colder with each step. The basement was lit by a single flickering candle, its weak light casting long, menacing shadows on the stone walls. In the center of the room was a circle of blackened stones, surrounded by more symbols and what appeared to be dried blood. And then they heard it, a low, guttural whisper that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. "Get out," the voice hissed, chilling them to their core. The group froze, their eyes darting around the room. The whisper grew louder, more insistent. "Get out." Suddenly, the candle blew out, plunging them into darkness. Panic set in as they scrambled to find their way back up the stairs. But the door at the top slammed shut with a deafening bang, trapping them inside. "What do we do?" Chloe cried, tears streaming down her face. "Stay calm," Henry said, though his voice trembled. "We need to stick together." But then the whispers returned, louder and more chaotic, as if multiple voices were speaking at once. The air grew impossibly cold, and a shadowy figure began to form in the corner of the room. It had no face, only a void where its features should have been, and its skeletal hand pointed directly at them. "You shouldn't have come here," it said, its voice echoing like 1,000 screams. The group huddled together, too terrified to move. The figure stepped closer, its presence oppressive and suffocating. Just as it reached out toward them, Henry shouted, "Run!" They bolted up the stairs, throwing their weight against the door until it burst open. They didn't stop running, tearing through the forest until they reached the safety of their cabin. Hearts pounding, they locked the doors and windows, hoping the nightmare wouldn't follow them. The rest of the night passed in a tense silence, none of them daring to speak about what they had seen. When morning came, they packed their things and left Ravenwood Forest without a second glance. Back home, Henry couldn't shake the feeling that something had followed them. Strange things started happening, objects moving on their own, whispers in the dead of night, and shadows that didn't belong. The group agreed to never speak of that night again, but the fear lingered, a constant reminder of their brush with the supernatural. Months later, Henry decided to share their story, hoping it might serve as a warning to others. As he finished recounting the harrowing tale, he leaned into the camera, his expression serious. "If you've made it this far," he said, his voice steady but grave, "consider yourself lucky. But take my advice, stay away from Ravenwood Forest. And while you're here, make sure to hit that subscribe button for more chilling stories. Who knows? You might just learn something that could save your life." With that, the screen faded to black, leaving viewers with a sense of unease that would stay with them long after the video